Recently we recalled the games that served up a really weird button prompt. Those on-screen instructions that tell you what to do next, like press A to jump or skip ad. We get it. But then in the YouTube comments, you lot pointed out that loads more games have even weirder button prompts in them, delivering on-screen orders that, when you see them, will have you frowning in confusion or laughing in delight, or possibly trying not to be sick. Here are your picks for bizarre button prompts that you are in no way ready for. Along the way, beware mild spoilers for the following.
Most test subjects do experience some cognitive deterioration after a few months in suspension. Now, you've been under for quite a lot longer, and it's not out of the question that you might have a very minor case of serious brain damage.
Anyone who played the first Portal will remember it's one of those situations where the hero remains silent, like Zelda or Half-Life, or me when anyone says, "Does anyone mind if I have the last slice of pizza?" The sacrifices I've made. But it's true, throughout Portal 1, hero Chell remains totally mute, letting the story unfold around her in stony silence.
Please move quickly to the chamber lock, as the effects of prolonged exposure to the button are not part of this test.
So it's fair to say that we were caught off guard by one of the first button prompts in the sequel game Portal 2, as commenter The G notes. There is of course the always classic space to speak from Portal 2. To be honest, we should have been more on our guard, seeing as the game makes it clear early on that it intends to have fun with on-screen instructions.
You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look up at the ceiling. Good. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look down at the floor. Good. This completes the gymnastic portion of your mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise.
My kind of workout. Might give it a rest though. I don't want to get too big of a neck. Next, however, things get a bit more intense when neurotic bot Wheatley crashes into your room, eager to assess your fitness to help him get the heck out of a testing facility that's gone to ruin.
Do you understand what I'm saying at all? Does any of this make any sense? Just tell me, just say yes.
Oh my god, we get to speak! I wonder what our voice will sound like. Fingers crossed for Gravelly.
Okay, what you're doing there is jumping. You just jumped. But never mind, say apple. Apple. Okay, you know what? That's close enough. Just hold tight.
Yep, sorry, no speaking in Portal 2 after all. To be fair to Chell, it's hard to imagine how much practical use speaking would actually be on her adventure, whereas being able to jump, and more specifically land, soon turns out to be, well, kind of crucial. Oh, rough landing. No worries though, not with this natural athleticism. Whew. Oh yeah, there we go. Spot me, spot me.
That's it, go on Luke. Go for the burn. You got this.
Yes.
Other gym sayings. I don't go to the gym.
No, I'm tired now.
Hey, champ. What's your name?
Jason.
Which balloon would you like, Jason?
The red one.
Here you go. That'll be $2, sir.
Jason, wait for me. Wait for your dad, son. It's really crowded in here.
When you start playing Heavy Rain, it's easy to see that things are about to go very wrong for protagonist Ethan Mars. For instance, take clue number 1, this being Ethan's dreamy domestic life, which is almost sarcastically delightful, and illustrated with the kind of hyper-saturated colours that can only mean something horrific is about to happen. Or consider the ominous sign that, while on a family trip to the mall, Ethan's creepy son Jason is delighted to see a man dressed as a clown selling balloons, even though that is literally the most frightening sight in the world.
I would really love to have one. Please, Dad, come on.
Okay, let's go buy a balloon.
Great!
Fathers, if your kid's response to this situation is anything other than, "Dad, I just saw a clown and now I need to go home because the day is ruined," then your child may be haunted. Sorry. Sadly, we'll never get proof that young Jason is indeed haunted because events of course take a tragic turn, but one that gives us one of gaming's weirder button prompts, as commenter Ryan A. Franks reminds us.
Jason! Jason!
What about the Heavy Rain moment, press X to Jason? Jason having wandered off, it's up to you to search them all in increasingly frantic fashion.
Jason!
all the while pressing X to Jason, or should we say, call out for the lost boy in a way that would probably have more emotional impact if Ethan wasn't saying it like he worked on a market stall and had Jasons for sale.
Jason!
3 for £1!
Jason!
Sadly, no matter how much you hammer X to, Jason, the game's events do indeed take a predictably tragic turn when both father and son are hit by a car, kicking off the game's events. This is all that clown's fault. I'm not sure how, but I'm convinced it is.
BT, I found Anderson. He's, in the ceiling.
Objective complete. We have rendezvoused with Major Anderson.
It's cold, BT.
Correct. Anderson's current temperature is 17 degrees Celsius, below the threshold of human survival.
Titanfall 2 is a game in which you can run along walls and drive a house-sized war robot. Living the dream. But bearing that in mind, it's safe to say that when you start the game's single-player campaign, you're not expecting to be given any other incredible powers.
Enemy Titan down.
Which perhaps explains why so many of you in the comments of our previous video claim to be so weirded out by one of Titanfall 2's button prompts, including Laura de Boer, who writes, "My personal favourite button prompt that I definitely didn't expect was press LB to time travel during the Titanfall 2 campaign. This brain-melting button prompt pops up during a mission to investigate a ruined and on-fire facility being used by the nefarious IMC Corporation, who are developing a mysterious weapon capable of blowing up a whole planet.
They were targeting this planet's moon as a test. This damn thing was just a test. One of our own planets is next. They're going to hit Harmony, and they moved up the timeline. I have to get this intel to Sarah."
To learn more, you must follow in the footsteps of the brave Major Anderson, but not too literally because Anderson's feet are now quite far from the rest of him, his body having been sliced in half in a time-jumping accident, leaving his button legs poking out the floor in a hilarious manner. Not a great way to go. We'll tell Anderson's family something else. Having stifled your laughter, it's time to respectfully loot the corpse, at which point you find Anderson's wrist-mounted device and a button prompt we can guarantee you were not ready for. What follows is a seriously brilliant bit of action, as you press L1 to time travel between the on-fire, mostly empty facility of the present and the glossy, intact facility of the past, and enjoying quite how confusing that is for the enemy soldiers you're fighting.
We're getting destroyed! Where is he?
Or skip back and forth between time streams like some kind of parkour Marty McFly. Sadly though, having tasted the incredible powers of time travel, your kick-ass time-hopping wristwatch breaks shortly after scanning the super weapon you were sent here to investigate.
Well done, pilot. Scan complete. As Anderson discovered, the IMC intend to destroy the militia planet of Harmony using the full-scale version of this weapon. Pilot Cooper, our journey is far from over.
The powers lost with my time travel fantasy unfulfilled. Now I'll never know what dodo tastes like. Lucky 15th century sailors.
You might think that being a baby is easy. You can cry whenever you want, you don't have to dress yourself, and there's none of this nonsense about getting to a toilet in time. But the baby life isn't always so sweet, especially not for a young Ezio Auditore di Firenze, the hero of Assassin's Creed 2, as commenter Miso Soup suddenly remembers. Wait! What about the childbirth sequence in Assassin's Creed 2? You had to button prompt a baby Ezio that just came out of the womb. It's true, we first meet eventual Lothario and deadly freerunner Ezio in the process of, him being born.
Sì, sì, brava! It is a boy.
Hooray! But Ezio's long life of stabbing guards and collecting feathers is almost cut tragically short when it appears the infant assassin is experiencing difficulties. Dad isn't worried though, giving a pep talk to tiny Ezio with the kind of bluff confidence you must get from wearing a neck scarf this fancy, and prompting one of the weirdest button prompt sequences ever seen.
Tu sei un uditore, sei un combattente, perciò combatti.
Move armed hand? Both hands have arms. This game's harder than I thought. Move both arms, legs, and finally your head, and not only will Ezio's longed-for cry burst forth from his teeny lungs.
Listen to him. A fine set of lungs.
But hey, also you've been sneakily trained in which buttons in Assassin's Creed 2 are generally mapped to which bits of Ezio's body, with the lowest face button making Ezio run, the two in the middle corresponding to arms actions like stabbing and shoving.
You brought this on yourself! Die! Just die already!
And the top button activating eagle vision, which lets Ezio see with the sixth sense that is dormant in humans thanks to interbreeding with the ancient Isu race of super advanced humanoids, and oh no, we just remembered Assassin's Creed lore is super weird.
We can do no more. The rest is up to you, Desmond.
What? Who is Desmond? I don't understand.
Still, you'll be glad you mastered Ezio's limbs when it comes time to hug Leonardo da Vinci later on. Wouldn't want to screw that up.
Grazie, amico mio. Di nulla.
Probably too shy to paint the Mona Lisa now. Nice one, Ezio.
Red Dead's Arthur Morgan is a real quick thinker. Except when it comes to realising his boss, murderous robber Dutch van der Linde, may not be the best role model, what with all the murder and robbing he does.
You keep killing folk, Dutch. I'm just trying to make sure that some of us survive, Arthur.
That takes Arthur a long old time. Bless him. A much more flattering example of Arthur's reasoning powers comes when you've explored Red Dead Redemption 2's vast open world version of the Wild West enough to piece together that there's a killer on the loose. Because, let's be honest with ourselves, it seems unlikely this dude's head just ended up here by accident.
Making a point with you.
By following the trail of horribly displayed bodies, Arthur is able to track the murderer back to his lair and search this grisly murder den. And we don't mean a hole with a big bear in it. Inside, Arthur finds clues like unsent letters to the newspaper boasting of his actions, but he doesn't notice a pretty big clue, the actual killer waiting patiently to deliver a knockout blow. But don't worry, Morgan fans, getting knocked out never did Arthur any harm. I mean, except the lasting harm unconsciousness can have on cognitive function, but that won't be fully understood for several decades until after Arthur's death. And besides, Arthur taking a tumble cues up one of the weirder button prompts we've seen in recent years. As commenter Bluebow says, I was confused by Red Dead 2 when dealing with the psychopath and it said to throw head. Yep, the on-screen instruction throw head may not be immediately clear to players, but to quick-thinking Arthur there's only one obvious move here, to literally throw a head. Guess you will pay the price, serial killer, if you don't tidy up the floor of your murder playroom. The price in this case being getting punched nearly dead by a riled up Arthur Morgan. Still, Arthur, probably not smart to get your prints on that head. Oh wait, the widespread use of fingerprints as a crime-fighting tool is also decades away. Man, the past sure was terrible.
じいさんそろそろ来ると思うんだが、先に店に入ってるか。おっと、その前にこれ渡すの忘れてた。桐生君の名刺だよ。これであんたも立派な橘不動産の社員だな。
The business world has many unspoken rules, like how if you invite a client to lunch, expect to pick up the bill, or how trousers are mandatory even on casual Fridays.
That's not an unspoken rule. We've spoken to you about it several times.
Good job then that the game Yakuza 0 takes it upon itself to give you, the player, a crash course in business etiquette, one that also features a truly baffling button prompt, as recalled by YouTube commenter Salty Italian. Yakuza 0's press X to offer business card. At this point in the game, protagonist Kiryu has recently been driven out of his Yakuza family, but is offered a job in the real estate business.
俺にこんなもんつけろってのかいちいちダダこねんなよまあ何もしないよりマシだわな
One of his first tasks is to accompany his colleague Jun Oda to a client meeting in a cafe, something Oda takes as an opportunity to test Kiryu's business etiquette chops. This begins with you selecting the best table for a client meeting.
よしこの場所なら問題ないだろう仕事の話をするのにおあつらい向きだ
Before making the all-important decision whether to order a drink or wait for the client to arrive first, something that Jun Oda has very strong feelings about.
客を待ちながら優雅にコーヒーすすろうなんてマナー違反やらかしやがったらぶん殴ってるところだったよ
Remind me why we're taking lessons in professionalism from this guy? The climax of this corporate gauntlet is a sudden button prompt that will have you scrambling for your controller, then gawping in confusion that yes, you're being given a timed button prompt to hand over a business card.
立花不動産の桐生ですいいぞ名刺交換は挨拶の基本だどんなに顔を売っても名刺を渡し忘れるようじゃその先の取引にはつながらないからな
You might think this is a weird amount of the game to extend to giving someone a card, but bear in mind that A, in Japan the ritual of business card exchange is an important moment in a business interaction, and B, Yakuza 0 is set in the 80s, before the concept of taking a business card was supplanted by looking up contacts online, then DMing them relentlessly on Twitter and LinkedIn.
桐生さんですかこれからよろしくお願いしますよ
The 80s setting is presumably also the reason Kiryu thinks it's acceptable to bring this much exposed chest to a business meeting. Come on, Kiryu, cover up. It's not casual Friday.
That's it, I'm scheduling another meeting.
You challenge me, mortal? A god of Olympus?
Our next entry could arguably be classed as a quick-time event rather than a button prompt, but my colleagues have decided that it should be allowed because, they say, it's way gross. Oh good. This memorable button prompt found in violent hack and slasher God of War 3 asks players to click in both analog sticks at once, and comes towards the end of a grueling battle against the God of the Ocean, as commenter Edward the Nugget knows only too well. What about God of War 3's scene where you blind Poseidon? Blinding Poseidon would be easy, you'd think, seeing as he must always have seawater in his eyes and refuses to wear goggles, but in fact this ludicrous boss battle is anything but simple, beginning with Kratos doing battle with Poseidon's lobster-legged horse pets and only getting weirder from there. Eventually you get to go face to face with Poseidon, or at least face to one of his knuckles, because he is absolutely gigantic. Until you wail on him a whole bunch more, that is, at which point Poseidon is in more immediately punchable form, and boy howdy does Kratos love to punch. At this point the game asks you to nail a series of button presses in order to deal immense, skull-ruining damage to Poseidon, whose point of view you are forced to endure this from because I guess the makers of God of War are just sadists. All leading up to Kratos grabbing Poseidon's head in his hands, at which point you are asked to click in both L3 and R3. Why L3 plus R3, I wonder? Oh. Oh no. Oh yes, that's your button prompt to eye gouge Poseidon for a horrific killing blow, letting the God of the Ocean tumble to his demise in a liquefying fall from a cliff. Wouldn't have happened if he was wearing his goggles. Just saying.
So those were some of the more weird button prompts that can be found in the gaming universe as suggested by you lot. There's so many. There are so many to choose from.
Send us more.
Yeah, send us in more in the comments.
Forever.
and ever and ever and ever. Like, yeah, but your button prompt to make us make another video is several button prompts writing a sentence in the comments of your suggestions. But there are some other button prompts we'd like to push your way and force you to push. Is if you want to watch some more videos from us, then we prompt you to click on this to watch the stresses, the dumb stresses that we have in games, and then over on Outside Xbox, what?
The weirdest things that were adapted.
Weirdest things that are adapted into video games. And subscribe, bye.